What's up, brand builders? Stephen Hurahan here on the Brand Master podcast. And in this episode, I'm speaking with co-founders Freddy and Erik at Snask in Stockholm. Now, Snask is a world-class, internationally renowned creative agency with a focus on branding, design, and film. Now, I don't use these words lightly. Their work really is top-notch and, well, it's a little bit different, just like their founders who, quite simply, love straight talking and have no time for BS. And in our colourful chat today, Freddy and Erik open up about overcoming imposter syndrome to become confident brand strategists, their no BS approach to clients and workshops that filter out the wrong clients and attract the right ones and set the tone for great relationships, and also why they believe that brand strategy as a discipline is growing in awareness and importance. So if you want to learn from world-class creative directors and agency leaders about how to build internationally renowned branding agencies, then don't miss this episode of the Brand Master Podcast. Welcome to the Brand Master Podcast, a show specialized in helping branding professionals and entrepreneurs to build brands using strategy, psychology, and creative thinking. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Brand Master Podcast. And I'm delighted today to have Freddy and Erik from the amazing creative agency Snask there in Stockholm. Freddy and Erik, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having us, Stephen. Nice to meet you over Zoom.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, for anyone listening, if you don't know who Snask are, I recommend just Googling Snask, S-N-A-S-K, and go and check their work out. It's absolutely amazing. It's really, really good. It's entertaining, and it kind of gives you a bit of an insight as to who the people are behind the agency itself and the type of work that they do. And yeah, you just take a few minutes, go through the website, and you kind of get a little bit blown away about the quality of work there and you know the entertainment behind it as well. So I really like that. But gents, I'd like to take you a little bit back to the early stages of Snask and get a bit of insight as to what that was like in the early days. Putting together the agency, trying to scramble together your first few clients. Can you give us a bit of an insight there as to what that was like?
Yeah, and I mean, first of all, thank you for those fine words. Super nice words about us. It always feels good when people
also good about the Googling. We just fixed our search engine optics, so now you can actually Google us. Before it would have been a big issue.
You're the top result there, so it's all good.
That sounds good.
We know what we do.
Early days. I mean, we started out straight from university, so we were basically told by industry people that you need 10 years of experience from industry before you start up your own agency. But then we thought, like, whose industry is it that we're going to get? And we were like, probably old white men who decided the structures and theories and methods way back. So we were like, okay, let's just do the mistakes ourselves and then see like if we can come up with our own method and our own way of doing things, like the Snask way, so to speak. And this year we're turning 15, so we would have turned 5 if we would listen to them. So I think that was a big thing that led us in the beginning, and naturally not listening to other people, it also meant that we did a lot of mistakes. It was like the dog years. The first 4 years was hard. We had to learn everything ourselves. It was like hard to. I mean, our wages was very small. We worked a lot of hours, but at the same time, we were kind of young, right, Erik? We were like having fun. So it was like we didn't really have.
Oh my God,
no one
I
had
remember.
family or kids or stuff like that. So it was easier. Yes.
Really, no, but that's so true. It's impossible to compare if you would like to do that, but it's definitely like we had no clue what we were doing in so many ways. But like Freddy said, we were young and we just wanted to more have fun and try things out and do it our way, and like that was the belief, and to do like good work as well, but like in our own way. We weren't, we were very focused on our, I would say like creative output and process and having fun and doing that. And I think that it took time, therefore, to build a company and stuff, because that was never the focus. It just sort of happened organically, but yeah, we had a lot of fun, and luckily it sort of turned out well.
Yeah, and look, a lot of our listeners create their own businesses or agencies themselves or consultancies themselves. So, you know, they can we can all kind of relate to that, starting your own business and being like a deer in the headlights. Nobody gives you the roadmap. Nobody gives you the frameworks and the systems, and you kind of have to figure all that out yourself. So I think that will resonate with a lot of people listening. What about those early clients? How did you go about get them? Did you tap the friends network, the friends of friends network, and kind of roll on from there? How did you evolve that process?
Yeah, no, but that is, I mean, definitely in the beginning it was a lot of friends or friends of friends type of, at least to open the door, maybe for things. And then at the same time, I think we also, like I said, we had a strong belief in our visual attitude or direction. So we had maybe we did it was some connection that led us into things, but then I think it was very clear early on where we fitted in or not, you know, like that. That came kind of naturally. Like, I remember the first years we didn't have any male client. It was all like women that we were working with. We leveled way better with
so that was obviously your natural good looks, right?
Exactly, that's where I'm getting to, and as you can see, no, but but like, it was more that the attitude towards work, not only talking about turnaround and business development. It was more about like what we were doing and so on, and it was just something like with that, like the attitude there, where we never worked well with that, like, I don't know. Yeah, this like cocky, like, come on, what do you do? What's the next? How much growth do you have? And it was never like a plan or anything, of course. But we just noticed after a while, we were like, oh, this is actually how it is. And then we started to work a lot with culture as well, which was, I think, another like one of those. Would say like when we met, aligned with the what we did and what they wanted, so to say, because we had that like kind of bold expression that was more okay maybe in that world. Now it is, I think, more in the other like branches and stuff. But back then it was way like they were more. It was closer to the art world maybe, and we could really like. Get the chance to do our ideas there. So that was also, but then again, that was not really any business in that world. We discovered afterwards.
Also, in the early days, we were kind of idiotic because we were like, yeah, let's target the culture and entertainment industry, without thinking about that they never have a budget. So we were like going into like, yeah, we did like theater posters, we did like culture events, all these things, and never had any budget. But on the upside, we could then tell them, well, if you don't have a budget enough, we want full creative freedom. And in that sense, we could, at least in the early days, build a portfolio in the way that we wanted it to. On the flip side was that we didn't make any money. That was the tougher part.
The absolute best thing we did those years for the future was to build a portfolio with the type of work we wanted to do. That's what I mean. Like, it took time, and we didn't maybe have the coolest logos. We still had cool logos on our website, but not in the cases maybe. And you know, and but that after a while, that's what people will ask you to do if that's what you show. You know, so after a while, that started to like happen. But I also must squeeze in a small thing. I remember though, we did some really bold, like would say, tries to go after clients. Like we built, you know, I know, packages and this, you know, custom made stuff that we send to them to like, hello, we should work together. And we like, I remember you guys, Freddy, you like dressed out. We went for some zoo and you guys like dressed out as zookeepers and went there to like meet them. And they were like, who the hell are you guys? You know, and you know, and it was often very appreciated, but we never got any work. It was like, you guys, you eventually you're gonna, you know.
But I really love that, and we within branding and brand strategy, we talk a lot about positioning and differentiation, and the way it sounds from your guys' perspective. When you look at the Snask website, you can see differentiation. You ooze this uniqueness. That was obviously a very, very organic journey. It wasn't, you arrived on the scene and said, we're going to be this, we're going to fill this gap in the market. You tested and you went out there and you found your feet and you decided who you were not for as much as who you were for. Would that be accurate? It was a really organic approach to finding your position.
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, from the beginning, we were very clear with what we didn't want to be.
Yeah.
We never wanted to be a full service agency. From the start, we were like, we don't want to be fairly good at everything. We want to be fucking amazing at a few things. And that's what we want to focus on. So I think from the get-go, we were like, okay, let's start this agency where we excel at a few things. And it's kind of more of a niche agency. But then, I mean, as you say, organically things evolved. Both the brand, our brand, like the Snask brand itself, became a big part of like a vehicle to have fun, basically, where we just did things when our parents wasn't at home. It felt like that was the feeling, like no one is going to tell us off, like we can't do this or we can't do that. And then the second part was professionally, that we really tried to like re-understand what we were doing in a professional way, because we didn't know that. And it took some years. I remember a friend of us who had another agency, he came over and he's like, what, you don't charge anything for your work? I could sell you for like a third of this like price. And then he told us like, so you do like a brand strategy, but you don't charge for it. We were like, yeah, because we can't make a visual identity without any strategy. He's like, yeah, but you don't charge for it. We're like, no. He said, that's so stupid. Like that, I charge my clients like half of everything I charge them is for strategy. And we were like, oh, okay. And then we realized that, oh, maybe we should just deliver the strategy and then start invoicing for it. And yeah, it was super easy to do that. But we had gone on for like 4 years just delivering graphic design, but always having strategy behind it, but never charging for it.
And so many of so many people who build agencies, they come across that same challenge as well. They realize that they're doing a lot of strategy, and then they have to transition and really have this breakthrough of, well, how do I separate that? So how did you guys successfully separate the visuals? Because of course that's a mental block. You can't put it in your portfolio as easily as beautiful design. So how did you go about that, separating that out, splintering those offers, and then putting strategy first as a product?
I think that what you wrote before, a question about no bullshit approach. Yeah, that was basically a big thing for us, because we had imposter syndrome. We were like, first 5 years, we were like, okay, soon someone's going to call our bluff and realize that we're not sure about anything. But after 5 years, we realized, yeah, but we do actually know a lot of things. And a lot of people in most meetings don't know anything, but they like pretend they do anyway. And for us, that approach of like being more rational behind everything we did felt much better. Instead of bullshitting and sitting and being nervous, we wanted to close that door to bullshit and just be very transparent, honest, but also logical behind everything. Like, for example, colors. We would be like, yeah, we don't want you to have the same color as your competitor, but that's it. Any other color will basically do. And no color means anything when it comes to branding. So you can say that, yeah, red is a warning color by nature. Yeah, but people drink Coca-Cola cans. People fly on Virgin Atlantic and Norwegian, the red airplanes, it clearly doesn't matter for people with the two biggest fears, like eating something or drinking something or flying in the air. Or green means grass and ecologic food, or it also means marijuana. It also means you're green of envy. It's like so many meanings to every color in every situation, depending on who you are, where you are, etc., etc. So it doesn't really matter. If you start bullshitting about that, if you start using arguments like that with clients,
endless,
like, oh, this
endless hole, you can go down.
yeah, exactly. And then you're like, oh, did we chose green because it's grass and it feels so good for you because you're one with the earth? Then they would be like easily say, then you open that door to bullshit, and then the client can take it and say, yeah, but this means marijuana. And yeah, it's the same argument. You could use that as well.
Yeah.
And that way, I think we worked out a more logical approach to everything. What would you say, Erik, about?
I would also add, like, maybe on a little the other perspective on the same theme with the whole like strategy versus visuals, that we since we started out with more focus on the visual, at least say what we showed and talked about, I think it's easier maybe as an agency to build attraction with strong visual work, because that people still understand that it's easier to get attention in the beginning, and then you sort of add on the strategy and explain that is needed. I think it's really hard if you would start with like, we're the best strategy agency ever, and no one knows anything about you, and then trying to sell that. At least it was maybe today. I think that's grown as well. But anyway, it's like, it's definitely helps to have strong visuals and cases that are just nice to look at, because we still get clients that way too. They can contact us. They've seen some work that they were just like, they like how it looked, but then what they're asking for is to dig deep into strategy. Like that's. And we can also always be like, because it can be boring with strategy, and it can be like, what do you say, like heavy to go through for a client as well. And it's like, are we getting somewhere? What's the result? Sometimes it's difficult to see, and that's also a good thing that we always like. It's very, very seldom that we only sell strategy. That's it. Like, we are always like, then we are translating this into something, and that they know, and we know that that's coming. So we can always like also give some energy with that, to be like, hey, let's work a little bit more, because then we're gonna do this, and it's gonna be amazing. And you, it's almost like you always end on a positive note, with that part.
And also I think that, sorry,
go ahead.
now also I think we see strategy a lot like it's like therapy. Like, people who don't go to therapy become less interesting, less clear. Maybe I think that we like to use a metaphor of dig deeper, motherfucker. Like, you need to, like, when in the start of a brand process, you need to like look at yourself, your own brand and company, with very like honest eyes, and say like, do our clients actually give a shit, or is it just a good product or service that we have? How can we actually, and then once you cleanse that, once you're like, okay, we're maybe not as good as we thought, or we are very good, or etc., then you can start pushing it in a direction. But if you never have that start of like digging deep, it's very hard, I think.
Yeah. Now, you said earlier that starting out, you tap the friends and the friends of friends, the networks and things like that. Now, obviously, you've grown now to a place where anybody will look at your website and the work you've done and be blown away, and you would obviously get a lot of referrals through that. Do you also actively market? Do you still just filter your referrals? Do you use a combination of both? What does getting new clients for Snask look like?
I mean, I think that we do a lot of things. Like right now, we're trying to really up our SEO, like the ranks in Google searches. We're Sometimes we advertise instead of competing with our work, because we don't really see the point for us to compete with work. We rather take that money and put it on like an ad towards market managers or whatever somewhere on LinkedIn or Instagram or whatever. So that's another approach. I think also we're trying to be out there and speak about what we believe in. And like all the lectures that we do across the globe is basically PR and trying to spread our gospel. And sometimes a future client hears us. That can become a thing. We also do our own projects. It comes from our like urge of doing something without a client, where we are the naysayers and we never say nay. We just basically says that, oh, we want to do a beer that's supposed to be drinking in the shower. Go ahead, great, that's perfect. And then we did that. And if that get traction and if that get ascension, it kind of also gives us PR in a way. And that way people hear about us. And I think that's also a strategy that we have, like pushing our own brand a lot is a way for us to also get clients. If that makes sense.
You touched earlier on the no bullshit approach, and as I said before, it's you can feel the people behind the agency with your agency, and I think it's such a refreshing way, not just to build an agency, but to do business. When you onboard a client for the first time, do you find that that no BS approach acts as a very good filter to see whether or not you're aligned to do business together?
I mean, yeah, definitely. It depends on where we are in the process, I guess, on the onboard. We are very early on.
Yeah.
I think it's like almost the first answer on an email, or it's like, are you guys for real? No, but like, it's definitely going to be there very early on in the first talks about, like, we are not trying to sell something that we are not, like, that we then can't deliver on properly, or that we don't believe in. We need to understand that this, what that they want to do it as well. That alignment is important from the start. And then, but then it's very early on shown anyway, because whatever you do, you start with the whole, like, who are you and why do you do what you do, and all of that, kind of questions and talking. And there, it's so much. I mean, many times the clients they don't maybe have the answer, all the answers ready. So it's a lot of like, that's a part of the work, right? But there's so much coming up there early on, and that can be called out as bullshit. Like they say that, but they do that, or they, and then we're gonna bring that up. We're gonna be like, okay, we understand what you're saying here, but like, don't you think maybe if you look at it, you're actually like acting like this, but then you say that you want to do that, and that doesn't really go together, right? And sometimes it's very early on, and sometimes it's even becomes like a pause in the project. That happens like quite. They are like, we need to go back a little bit, and then approach this again, and maybe so we just like wait another month because they need to talk more internally. Or we also jumped a lot of pitches with this, like, meaning that we are invited to a pitch, but we instead start asking some serious questions about the pitch that we don't think is, this is not relevant for you. Why you want us to do this, blah, 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 and start asking things. And then sometimes they come back a little bit later and say, hey, we're not going to do a pitch. We're going to start working with you guys because you were the only ones that were like actually asking the right questions here, and we haven't thought about these things properly.
Also, sometimes
so I think
we lose.
Yeah, we can go the other way. Trust me.
But that's really a good thing, especially to build the type of portfolio and client base that you want. You don't want the wrong clients working with, because you end up doing work that you don't enjoy, and destroys your soul long term. So, having that filter and, really kind of throwing out a few kind of, questions that come from the side that the client isn't expecting is a great way to either draw them in or push them away. So I think it's a really, really good filter, and I really, really like that approach. Now, I heard you, Freddy, talking about the brand platform before. And the brand platform is what you work on before you move into the design and the visuals. So is that a term that you've coined? Because it's not a term that I've heard of before. And what exactly is the brand platform, and what does that process look like?
I mean, for us, we see the branding very much like humans, and I think that since the dawn of time of humans, we've all had spiritual healer, tribe leader, hunter, or whatever. Everyone kind of was brands in a way, even though the word didn't exist. But we kind of had this image of a person and what this person is all about and is good at, etc. And that kind of becomes like a brand. So it kind of works like a human anyway, branding. And for us, the first part, if you see a person coming into a bar and you never met this person before, the personality of this human being is the brand platform, like the values, the essence of this person, the drive, the engagement, basically who this person is for us is the brand platform. And you can divide that into many different value compositions, etc., manifestos, different things depending on what's easiest for the client. But straight down, the easiest way to describe it for us is just the personality. After that, you have what does this person say and how does this person say it, and that have to match the personality. We can't be different, of course, and that's the brand voice. So then you have the brand platform, you have the brand voice, basically personality and voice, and then you can choose the outfit, the looks of this person based on that. Because if you don't know the person and know what this person speaks about, you can't choose an outfit because it's very hard. But when you have that, you can then translate that into an outfit, and then you have okay, this person makes sense. Everything is interesting, and it's to us, that's I think that's the easiest way for us to explain a process and what a brand platform is for us.
Yeah, and I absolutely love that, because that is exactly how I look at branding as well. That's exactly what I speak about, is understanding your audience as people, and the way we connect with people are through our attributes, are through our personalities. That's how you decide whether or not you like somebody or you don't like somebody. And it's the exact same in branding. We don't connect with businesses, we don't connect with companies, we connect with the messages that they put out there and the way they put them out there, and whether or not the way they put them out there align with who we are and what we value, and what we want as well as people. So I absolutely love that philosophy, and it ties it exactly into how I look at branding as a human entity that we're building to connect a business with a person. Now, I find anyway, and you can give me your 2 cents on it, that branding is this discipline it's really misunderstood, and I've got some theories as to why it's misunderstood. But it's becoming more and more clear that people, everyday entrepreneurs, they're starting to understand that there is a little bit more behind the visuals. So we've got the dance on the stage, but they know that there's something going on behind the curtain. How do you view the importance of strategy? And have you seen that evolve over time? Have you seen your clients start to understand that a little bit more and understand the importance of having that in their business?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. It's funny to start off with the whole the branding, the strategy part is important. It's something people often miss or forget about, or think it's about the visuals. It's something that I think it's a little bit we're lost in translation between Swedish and or English, because in Swedish it's the words are more divided. You have design, graphic design, and then you have brand strategy, and there's like a word for more brand strategy that you don't really mix up in the same way with a visual. So for us, when we were starting to look at this, it was like, oh, so branding is the strategy, design is design. So so we when we say what we do, we say we do branding, design, and like film photography. But then we noticed that like, oh, out in the world, like English speaking, where they're like branding means the visual. You're like, okay, that's so there's something there that like started out almost as a little bit like wrong translation, but it meant something good because I think it made it clear what we do and how we see things. But I do think that like as I mentioned before, I think strategy and research and that is something that is growing and growing and growing. But why? A big reason is because of all the tech companies and all the the new startup world that like has been really like they dig into their product research so much, and they put so much say effort on that, and they view it highly, and that sort of has spread to the rest of the world or the industry where maybe we hang us. We often like, if we work with more like a fintech company today, they are so like, but the strategy, they are like, because they are so used to that, so they want to often see like but then there's a lot of bullshitting in that as well, or like they need to analyze it better and so on. But there's definitely something there that has shifted that I don't recognize as much as when we started out. Then it was more like, how are things going to look, and so on. We maybe had to explain more about why, and it was more like divided parts of organizations. They had people doing research and analysis, but they were like somewhere else in the building, and they were not connected to the people during more the branding or communications and so on. So there's something there that definitely has happened for sure.
And also I think that finding the why, a lot of clients we have, and as Erik mentioned, especially tech companies, they only talk about the product or the service all the time. There's nothing deeper. There's no why behind there, and you have to really work on that. And also they work a lot with data, and it's kind of ironic speaking about data when looking forward and creating a brand. Like data is everything from this second and backwards in time. It's history. It's like, oh, let's get married, let's look back at our relationship now instead of looking forward, which is super boring. It's about everything from this second and forward. You can't measure, and that's a leap of faith. It's a risk. Yes, it will be a risk. You can't ask people what they want, because people don't know. People didn't know they wanted a car, they wanted a faster horse, or people didn't know they wanted an iPhone. So Steve Jobs never asked people if they wanted an iPhone, because people don't know about it. So that's why you have to like drive change yourself, and you have to take that leap of faith and finding what's beyond your product and service. Otherwise it's like soccer or football. It's like, it's not the what that is interesting, like, oh, I run 3 meters and then I shoot the ball into this net. That's not the thing. It's why. It's like the belonging to a team, the feeling of us, that's so much stronger. And I think that's a big thing, like trying to convince clients and make them realize that there's something beyond your product or service that you need to build.
Yeah, and I really, really love that leap of faith, because there are so many clients that get caught up in metrics and what's the ROI on this. And when we're talking about branding, it is a little bit fluffy, because we're finding meaning for the audience, and within that, there is no certainty. It is a leap of faith. So I love that as a way to position the value of brand, and that there are no guarantees, and you just have to look forward, and it's not about looking back. So how do you extract all of that from the client? Do you run workshops with them?
Yeah, I mean, the first step for us is always a workshop. And as I said before, like a therapist, you need to find out. You can't ask a therapist before, like, what am I gonna get back from this? What am I gonna get out of this? How can I measure my success after one meeting, after 15 meetings? Whether you can't say that, that's impossible. But there will be shit you need to take care of and turn into fertilizer. But that's the thing, like. Process shit is the best fertilizer. But we always start with a workshop, and then we one purpose of the workshop, like a long workshop, is to find out more about them, hearing it from their side, but also push them a lot into a new direction. So make them realize, and we're pretty direct and honest in our approach. So we will tell them, like, we think it's a really bad name you have. If you don't want to change it, that's fine, but it will affect where we're going, and things like that. And we're just pretty open about it.
And would you tell them that as directly as that? Your name is pretty bad?
Yeah, I mean, I think that sometimes I get emails from clients saying, "Oh, thanks for being so frank or direct." It basically means thanks for being so rude. I think that I mean, my girlfriend, we met because I emailed her a long time ago saying that their website looked really bad. And she was like, "Thank you. I did that."
I love that.
But I mean, I think that we are like, because for us it's kind of serious. If we're going to end up somewhere good, we need to tell them straight away. If it's a bad name, it's like we will tell them, and if they don't want to change it, fine. We can still make a good work, but it will be a bit harder. It will be a bit harder to explain. But if we can change, the dream is, of course, if we can be at the beginning of the process and throughout the whole way, or if they already chose a good name, that's fine as well.
I don't feel like we do our job otherwise if we don't ask those questions. That's why we are brought in, and also that in the end, I mean, it's very good. I mean, it's like we understand that they can't change everything all the time. A name, for example, or whatever, can be very costly. It can be super tricky in the organization to go through that type of stuff. But we need to at least mention it and discuss it, but also so it doesn't come back to haunt us later. If let's say that we see things, but we don't say anything, and then we like work through it, and then in the end, it's like, oh, this was great, but these two things was really not that good. And we were like, yeah, we knew that, but we didn't dare to say anything. We thought that you would get hurt if we say, that. I mean, we at least need to bring it up, but then we can sometimes understand that we can't do anything about it. Like that we can agree on that this is maybe not great, but like we have to work with it. We'll find a way, but like at least we all know that this is a bump in the road or a difficult challenge to overcome or something, so it's like a mutual understanding of that as well in the process.
I think so many people listening today will, this is an episode that I would kind of listen back to, because there is so much in there for anybody who is starting off themselves, that, finding your position in the market doesn't mean that you have to definitively choose something now. It's about finding out who you're not for as much as who you are for, and letting that organic process follow through. And then, asking being frank, being upfront, being open, and putting the bullshit aside, putting all that peacocking aside, and not being afraid to ask direct questions. Because in the end, if you follow that philosophy, you will filter out the clients that you don't want, and you will work with the clients that you do want, and you will find that position in the market. But we can see the position that Snask fills in that market, and that's been through everything that you guys have done. If you had to start off again, if you had to go back to the beginning, and you take all your knowledge, everything that you know now, but you drop, your networks, your profiles, all of that. You're just a nobody freelancer again. Would you do anything differently? What would you change about what you did, and what would be the first 3 or 1, 2, or 3 things that you would do?
I think, I mean, it's such a hard question. It's a good question, but it's such a hard one, since we sort of, as we explained, didn't know anything when we started up, and that was like sort of our philosophy. It's hard now. We are almost, we're getting to become those old white men that we were talking about that we didn't want to listen to. But but I think that the thing that I feel like I would put more time on, or like put more, like look closer at, is maybe the internal culture. And not like we have a culture, and we always been very like, with the team, and like doing things and really like creating, like that's a part of the brand. But we never really defined it. It happened a bit organically. It was maybe also easier because we were younger. We were like, the social lives are way bigger. You do so much stuff with people, and there are great talent everywhere around you and so on. But today I think it would be more like really define some of it, because the thing that happens over time is that, okay, it's way easier to find a style of the work. It's like, okay, we're going to do everything in black and white. Okay, cool, let's do that. That's our style. That's our look, or whatever, But then the whole culture thing, that's something that it's people will come and go. You will have different partners, different clients. You will end up with so many questions about morale, about like just like things, personal situations that you need to address, and to not. It's a lot of work for everyone involved. Like it really, if you always need to figure it out every time, and I mean like emotional work. It's like we're working with friends. You become friends when you're working closely, and to not like maybe have that thought through in that way, like to always need to like a little bit like, okay, shit, how are we gonna deal with this situation? I'm not saying that it's easy, even if you do that, you're still gonna, but that, have issues. But I think that's the thing that when I look back through the years, I feel like there are so many situations there where we could have handled so much better if we would have just been a little bit more aligned from the start, and been more also confident in that like the whole like, more internal thing.
Yeah, and I guess that's part of the process, really. Without those mistakes, you wouldn't be where you are today.
Yeah, exactly. I think that for me, one thing is work-life balance would probably be way better than it was when we started out 15 years ago.
Yeah,
that it's so important that you work so you can live, and not live to work, because then it's going, we're in a very bad place. But the second thing is, like you mentioned, the mistakes. I think that for us, the philosophy is that if you live your life, I think Oprah Winfrey said it's very good, like all the mistakes you do creates like this path that isn't planned. Like your life isn't like a dead like heartbeat that is like where you like died, where everything went as planned. Your life is like mistakes that happens. Someone breaks up with you even though you love them, or you have to move away, or you get fired, or you lose a client, etc. And then at the end of a life, that's an interesting life. That's what you can tell your grandchildren. A life or a career that went perfectly as planned the whole life will be super boring to listen to. So in a way, I think that also all these mistakes is not for the bad, it's also for the good, like you say, development, and it's also a fun story, if nothing else.
That's gents, it's been an absolute pleasure. There's been so much value in this to hear about the journey that you've gone through to get to where you are now. And now you got your SEO shit together. If somebody wants to get in contact with you, they just Google Snask. Is there is that the best way to get in contact with you? Just to Google Snask?
I think that's the really the best way. It's just Googling Snask.
And follow us on Instagram.
Follow us. Yes. It's definitely worth a look and a follow on their Instagram profile. So again, gents, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on the podcast today. You. I wish you all the best in the future, and I hope to chat to you again.
Thank you, Stephen.
Man. Thank you so
nice
much.
To be on the show.
Thank you. We really hope you enjoyed today's episode. Thanks so much for listening. If you want to learn more brand strategy techniques to level up your skills, make sure you check out brandmasteracademy.com. There's plenty of free resources and premium content for you to download and get you going. If you'd like to join our Facebook group full of like-minded brand strategists, all learning from each other, then find us by searching for the Brand Strategy Community, where you can find exclusive content for members as well. If you enjoyed this content, please be sure to give us an honest review on iTunes, Stitcher, or wherever you listened, and make sure you tune in for the next episode of the Brandmaster Podcast.